Most of the western U.S. is facing excessive heat warnings, but the dangerously high temperatures extend all the way to the East Coast. It was so hot in New York City Monday, the 3rd Avenue bridge to the Bronx expanded too much and got stuck open. And in Oregon, authorities are investigating 4 deaths they say could be related to the oppressive triple-digit temperatures.
Check in on your neighbors and your friends and your family members, people who may be at risk of having a heat-related illness.
Whew, I'm hot right now. As we head into the hottest summer months, things are hotter than ever in the United States. In fact, we're already breaking heat records, but people who typically work outside could get a bit of relief soon. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, under the Biden administration, has proposed a rule that would protect workers from the risk of heat-related injuries, illnesses, and death. This is, perhaps shockingly, the first time that something like this has been proposed on a national level. The rule could positively impact an estimated 35 million workers across the nation, everyone from delivery people to mail carriers, construction workers, agricultural workers, maintenance workers, and more, anyone who works outside. And these protections aren't exactly groundbreaking. At 80 degrees, employers would be required to provide water and breaks to workers as needed. At 90 degrees, 15-minute breaks every 2 hours would be required, and workers would have to be monitored for signs of heat illness. And by the way, that's 80 and 90 degrees in the shade. So really, these workers are already working under much hotter conditions before these protections would even kick in. But as you can probably imagine, not everyone is happy about any of this. Happy workers means what? Unhappy employers, right? Employers are fighting back, saying that these new regulations would, you guessed it, cost too much money and hinder productivity. Part of their antagonism towards all of this is that they say they're already doing enough to protect their workers. Well, just now we showed you a couple of maps that showed where it's hottest in the United States and where workers would most benefit from this rule. Texas is one of the hottest states in the nation with a significant outdoor workforce. Until last year, Texas had local rules across the state that mandated water breaks for outside workers. Those local rules were put in place because workers were actually dying from heat-related illnesses and dehydration. But then in June 2023, Texas Governor Greg Abbott eliminated those local mandates, arguing that employers would protect their workers without having to be told to do so. But they weren't doing it before. There's more on this, but let's get your thoughts first. Is it strange that employers need to be told to take care of their workers, or is this just capitalism being capitalism? Mark, let's start with you.
Well, this is the storied reality of workers and their relationship to employers since that relationship began. I mean, that's why unions are so powerful, because they can give you the power of collective bargaining and you can exert some leverage. Sadly, a lot of these jobs are occupied by non-union employees, and the states that were shown in that map, most of them are, as you suggest, sort of concentrated with home building and agriculture and these jobs that by necessity have people outside. But again, these are oftentimes non-union type situations. And so they are suffering by far the greatest number of heat-related deaths. It's a brutal commentary on the ability of employers to evade a lot of sort of basic care that one might extend to an employee. And so the government has to step in and make sure it happens. And I hate to get political again. I mean, to always default to what will happen if, but this was a very, very hard-fought battle to get any kind of recognition with this increasing heat and these excruciating conditions that workers are under, to have any relief for them. It will all be erased. It will all be scuttled under a Trump administration. No chance that it survives.
Thanks for watching. Our audience has helped build TYT into the media giant it is today. Together, we can accomplish anything. Support our work and join us at tyt.com/team.
Yeah. Absolutely. That can't be stressed enough, that is gone. I mean, Trump is basically asking for bribes from big oil. Donate to my campaign. All of those environmental regulations are gone. And think about what we're talking about here. We're talking about breaks, 15-minute breaks, and water being provided to people working outside during extreme heat days. That's not, I think, something that's untenable for a company to adhere to. And they're acting as if we're saying they're not even allowed to work if it goes above 90 degrees. They're opposing water breaks. That is ridiculous. And think about the context here. Globally, this is on the from over the past 13 months. Each month globally has been the hottest on record. The planet is getting warmer. These problems are intersectional. That's when you talk about climate as a multifaceted intersectional problem. Climate change is just that, because you see how it manifests in all of these different arenas. For instance, on July 7th, Las Vegas was 120 degrees. And corporations want to argue with a straight face that people working in those conditions don't deserve water breaks. 120 degrees, and they can't have 15 minutes off for shade. This is how out of control capitalism is without guardrails. That they think this is a serious argument, and people will die. People absolutely will die in those conditions. And in response to that, in the Washington Post article, they said, some people have questioned the entire initiative, saying that a workplace heat rule is unnecessary because not many workers die from heat exposure. Not many? Some do. What are you doing to stop those? And it's only going to get worse as the temperatures on the planet continue to rise.
Yeah, I remember reading that and I could not believe it. But you know what? Those employers might have an ally and none other than Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. He's got his sights set on taking down OSHA now. He's arguing that the agency that protects workers' rights in the workplace is actually not a good thing. It's unconstitutional. According to Thomas, OSHA is an outside agency that should not have legislative powers akin to congressional authority. He had this to say: Congress purported to empower an administrative agency to impose whatever workplace safety standards it deemed appropriate. That power extends to virtually every business in the United States. It would be no less objectionable if Congress gave the Internal Revenue Service authority to impose a tax on a particular person that it deems appropriate. And this comes just a year after a US Court of Appeals determined that OSHA was, in fact, constitutional. Now, I don't know what Clarence Thomas is up to, but he really seems to be looking out for big business here, which would fall right in line with everything else he does. These heat protections can't come soon enough for these workers. Mark, let's start with you. What do you think about Clarence Thomas's crusade against OSHA?
Well, Clarence Thomas is the leader of the parade, but you don't have to go past Clarence Thomas very far to find others who are in that parade. To look at Neil Gorsuch. I mean, this is all reminiscent of how Neil Gorsuch and this incredibly corporate-friendly US Supreme Court sides always with business. Gorsuch's ruling in that case that we've mentioned here before, the frozen trucker case, where somebody's literally, it's 14 below zero. The trucker is huddled in his cab. He's lost the feeling in his torso, in his extremities. He's got a burning sensation. He feels himself dying of exposure. He leaves his truck and then is back in court to sue for his job and to get these because they got rid of him. And Gorsuch, Neil Gorsuch, the same guy who's on the US Supreme Court now, ruled for the business that the guy should never have left the truck behind. He had been there hours waiting for help and he was freezing to death. This is the kind of Supreme Court we have. So Thomas, as I say, he's tip of the spear, but behind him you've got Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and Barrett. They are all and Alito, incredibly business friendly. They have no regard for the worker.
Yeah, and think about what a Trump administration, to Mark's earlier point, it's important that we talk about all of these policy priorities or agency or bureaucracy issues within the context of what it would look like under a Trump administration. With Project 2025, replacing people at the Department of Labor, replacing people at OSHA with Trump loyalists, everything's gone. Every worker protection that Biden implemented, and they would chip away at much more if they can. It is going to be completely unsafe for workers. It's going to be dangerous. No regard for climate change, its effects on workers working outside in extreme heat days. And corporations will benefit. They want to wring workers out for every last penny they can, leave them discarded on the side of the road. To go back to Mark's story, they don't care. because all they care about is maximizing profit. The only thing they're worried about is their bottom line.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too how the Republicans still try to act like they're the party of the workers and that they're looking out for the little guy. Trump specifically, for some reason or somehow, he's convinced people who are working class Americans that he's one of them and that he's looking out for them. And it really doesn't make any sense. And then on top of that, the Republicans actively deny climate change, even despite the fact that we are all hot. We're hot everywhere in this country, right? I know I live in Texas and I know I'm hotter than the weather here is hotter than the rest of the country, but it's ridiculous, and we're all feeling it, and they're denying it. They're gaslighting us, telling us it's not a thing, and it is a thing, and people are going to die because of it.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.